We spoke to the director of Fancy Dance, the brand new Lily Gladstone movie on Apple TV Plus. Check out our conversation with Erica Tremblay. I really enjoyed Fancy Dance. And first of all, congratulations. But I'm curious about how, for the longest time, I think representation in Hollywood was often about portraying that model minority. And what I loved about Fancy Dance and Reservation Dogs and even Marvel's Echo is that you have these characters who are complex and flawed and broken. And I was wondering if you could speak to the importance of telling those sorts of stories as well, because we're only just beginning to see them.
Yeah, I mean, thank you so much for the question and the acknowledgement of that. I think for a long time in Hollywood, we've got two types of representation for Native peoples. It was either the violent warrior, like
Right.
savage that was, killing all the white people in the villages, or it was this peace pipe smoking native
Noble,
that was like
wise.
noble,
Yeah.
wise, like model minority that's one with nature and all of these things. And any type of way to assimilate a culture has happened to Native Americans. And there are repercussions for all of that. And when you've kind of been in an act of genocide for this long, you do what you have to do to survive. And I think that that's what I was really inspired by when Michiana and I were writing the script to create Jax, we were like, those two versions are not what we see when we look around our reservations and we look around our communities. We wanted to see real women that were represented, and we made it a point that Towie worked in the sex industry. I worked in the sex industry for many years, and I worked alongside so many incredible moms that were making money, working in the strip club to raise their families. And I wanted to talk about the humanity of these characters. And so Jax is a fully formed human being that makes mistakes. And Towie was a fully formed human being that, despite her job or despite, what she had done in life, deserved to be found and deserved justice. And so we hope that people will recognize the humanity in these flawed characters and, think about the real life people who are living these consequences and love them and care about them like they do Jackson Roki.
So it used to be very hard to get these stories told. And I realize that things aren't perfect, but they're getting better. But I wanted to ask you these days, is the greater challenge then just convincing people to watch these movies and TV shows?
Man, I think that's a good question for our whole industry right now, right?
Right?
Like how do we bring people to stories? And I mean, I'm a true believer in storytelling of all forms. I'm a true believer in people telling stories that have an honest take and that are telling authentic stories about the human condition. And we as human beings are always going to be drawn to stories, whether or not we're flipping through a TikTok or whether or not we're finding a classic on Criterion, right? We're drawn to good storytelling. So I'm not worried that we will all of a sudden not love stories. I think we'll just see what form those decide to take. And we've just had such an incredible response to our film, whether it's been in the festivals or screenings that we've set up inside of communities. And so I'm just grateful that this film will have this platform and this release and be available to so many people. And yeah, you want to connect with an audience as an artist, right? You want to make that connection. And so I'm grateful that Fancy Dance will have the opportunity.
Can I tell you something interesting? And I think it's an unintended consequence of what you do, but there is a global impact to these stories. And I think it's not spoken about as much because all the way out here in Malaysia, we don't learn about the Native American experience. It's not a part of our day-to-day conversations. But I think what movies like Flower Moon and yours does is that it doesn't just educate, but I think it's also inspiring to other minorities everywhere about the importance of telling their stories. So, congratulations and good job on that. But I've got a little bit of time left, and I wanted to, and I don't think this is a spoiler, but I wanted to talk about that ending because I thought that ending was fantastic. I didn't know how it was going to end, but I knew how I didn't want it to end. And when you reach that third act and things start happening, I began to get worried that this was going to be one of those movies that's going to leave me broken. But I think you end it on this incredibly high note. And could you talk to me about doing that? Because it doesn't necessarily have a resolution, but it works.
Yeah, that was the first image that I ever saw for this film. Like, I knew it was going to be a mother-daughter story by way of an auntie-niece relationship, and I knew that they needed to end dancing together. And then it was the fun challenge of Michiana and I to figure out how we got them there. Yeah, I mean, the corrupt wheels of the American justice system will continue to churn after the credits roll. But I couldn't bear to see the film end in any other way, but for these two beautiful women to come together and dance, connected by their culture, their community, their missing loved one. Like, we needed to end in a moment of joy. And the hope is that the film will break you, right? And that the film will break your heart. And then in the
It does,
ending,
because even
mend
the
it,
dance,
yeah, mend it back together simultaneously. And the response that we've gotten to the ending, I think lots of people sometimes will ask questions about, well, what do you think? And I'm like, I can't bear it. I can't bear to think what happens to the two of them after the credits roll. And that's why I had to end it where I ended it, because we all know that through their love and their connection to each other, that despite everything else, they're going to be okay. I couldn't bear to see any other consequences befall them, and leave them in a moment of jubilation and smiling together.
yeah, I'm all out of time, but no, you're absolutely right. And when the MC goes, "Oh, now it's the dance for murdered and missing relatives," like that is the punch in the gut. That broke me. I wasn't expecting that, and then you ended on that note, and I was just like, "Wait, is that it? Like, did I miss something?" But I'm so thankful that you did. Thank you so much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure. Congratulations to the film. I love your pin. I need to get me one of those. But yes, thank you.
Thank you so much.
That was Erica Tremblay, the director of Fancy Dance, which you can check out on Apple TV Plus. Let us know once you do. Sound off in the comments. And thank you so much for watching.